Yes, I'll try to be regular. Thank you. So, as a comedian, you're often trying to get your friends interested to watch, check out your sets. I think Sicoli, Caprio can relate. You're always trying to, hey, watch my set, check it out. You got to get interested. And a friend of mine who lives in D.C., I sent her one of my sets, and she wrote back to me a little angry, and she was like, hey, you can't be sending me all these, sets with all your weird comedy every time you do it. You can't send me all these weird comedy. I do serious things, and I can't always be prepared for this. Here's the thing. My friend, her name's Nicole, she lives in D.C., and she works as a lobbyist to get marijuana legalized. So a friend of mine who wants it to be as easy as possible for all Americans to get high is worried that I am too weird and silly. Because as we all know, there's been a long, horrible misassociation with drug users in comedy. We all know how much people use marijuana and cocaine and mushrooms and ecstasy and LSD and crystal meth, hate weird things, and they hate to laugh. Those two things, weird laughter, especially when you're on drugs, people just completely despise. Yeah, it's tough. So yeah, it gets a little frustrating. One of the ways I like to relax is I like to play video games when I get a chance. I've been playing a lot of older video games, my computer emulated, but I started playing a lot of the games in my childhood, and I realized as I was playing them that a lot of the video games I liked as a kid came really to affect me as an adult. You see, they didn't really inspire me a desire to strategize or improve my skill set, but they did give me a lifelong love of killing bosses. So, I'm always, whenever I go out, I always like to try to meet new people, like to go to new places. And I went to a party about a week ago, and there was a lot of people I didn't know there, but I figured, what the hell, you always is a good chance to meet a new friend. So, there's always people there, but there was one group, there's a couple of young kids, they were all dressed in black, and they were really quiet to themselves. And I went over and talked to them, and they were really friendly, and they turned out to be a group of anarchists. So they started asking me some questions. Hey, I read a little bit, so I'm able to follow up all their questions about politics. And so they asked me, Shawn, I need to ask you a couple questions. First, what's your solution to the class struggle? I'm like, well, I just always tried to make friends with a kid who took better notes. Like, all right, so, yeah. Even more important, what do you think about income inequality? Well, a lot of guys have trouble their first couple of times, but I think if you keep working at it, eventually you'll get the hang of it. So, I don't know if you're like me, that you just spend days, sleepless nights, endlessly wondering why the word palindrome isn't a palindrome. Seems like it should be. So I was walking around the other day, and I saw a couple of pigs playing in the mud, and then I thought to myself, man, police should behave in a more dignified way in public. Yeah, I like that, and I kept driving, and eventually I see that the police have put up a sign. There's a sign that you'll see a lot in the New Jersey highways right now, and it says, you drive, you text, you pay. Which I think is really good for discouraging unsafe driving practices, but it's also really good at explaining to our young people the process by which you acquire narcotics. I'm thinking that if I'm going to get ahead, I'm always really interested in politics and what's going on, but I think if you're going to be really ahead, you kind of have to predict what the political signs are going to be of the future. And what I think, I've just came up with this today, what I think is going to be one of the major political slogans of the future you're probably going to see, just a lot of placard signs. You're going to see, less trans fat, more trans people. You're just going to see a lot of fit people of ambiguous genders just parading these signs. But notice that, so you're seeing trans people visible a lot more these days. And one of the most obnoxious things that I always hear when everybody has a social question, this thing. So what do you think about this? So what do you think about X? So what do you think about is really just a way of, I don't like this, but I want you to initiate the conversation so I can tell you I don't like it. So what do you think about the president? Yeah, he's a piece of shit. So what do you think about trans people? Well, I don't like him. And that's all anybody ever needs to say. And everybody now needs to tell you that they're oh yeah, this is just making me uncomfortable. They say a lot that with Bruce, Caitlyn Jenner, they're always like, just, when I think about this, it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm just like, do you honestly spend a lot of time thinking about other men's genitals? Like, that's really what you think. So when I think about the sex change, it's like, you spend, I don't have any interest in that, so I don't think about it. Like, I don't understand these people, it's like, I have to think about it. No, you don't. And it's because it's usually very fundamental religious people who are mad, and they're saying, as a religious person, I'm offended that I have to think about this. Well, I'm like, if you believe in religion, don't you technically believe in free will, which means you don't have to think about anything? Besides this, I guess one of the other things I just like to study, I like to learn bits about new cultures, different languages. And I have a really good friend of mine in Stockholm. I've been to Sweden a couple times. It's a really cool city, really friendly people. The only thing is the Swedes are really dull. Like, not mean anyway, but it's just like, there is no explosions have ever occurred. Like, even assassinations. They had their president assassinated. It was like one guy with a bullet in '85 just like killed. Like, it is the quietest country. It's really cool that way. And it even is reflected in the language. They have a word in Swedish, lagom, which means just the right amount. But to translate what it's meaning actually is that something too good or something really good is bad. You don't want that. You want something lagom. I'll give you an example. You could be like, it could be just a very dignified Swedish man. Let's call him Olaf Olofsson. He's just sitting there at a nice restaurant in Stockholm, and he's enjoying his soup. He suddenly pauses with the soup. Waiter! Waiter, come over here! Waiter, you have brought me a soup that is delicious, that is refreshing, that warms my body and my spirits. It takes my mind to another place of happy moments in my youth. And this is not what I had desired. Today is Tuesday, the day when I contemplate about the pointlessness of existence and human endeavor. And your delicious soup has ruined this opportunity for me. I demand you take this soup away and bring back a soup that is lagom. That's like a Tuesday night in Stockholm, I guess. Could be. Somebody's Tuesday night, maybe. I've noticed that, like, science fiction movies, superhero movies, they're just like, everybody says that they're about to die, but they seem to just keep being popular no matter what. And they always say, oh, they're going to crash, but they just seem to keep making popular. I mean, they made an Ant-Man movie. They're like, this genre's dying. They made a movie about a guy who could turn into the size of an ant, and people are going to go see it. They spent $100 million about a movie about a guy who could turn into an ant and shoot things. People are going to go see this movie. So I've started working on my own superhero film. It's a story about a young man who was accidentally exposed to a nuclear reactor. And then a short while later, he dies of lymphoma. But I've noticed that whenever you're watching a superhero movie, what's really disturbing about them is that it's always presented as like an action-adventure story. Like, this superhero movie is really exciting. And I'm thinking, it is if you're the 5 superheroes, the superhero movie is exciting. If you are anyone else, it is the most terrifying nightmare possible. Imagine if you're just like sitting in Central Park one day, this giant spaceship appears, robots come out of it and start killing everyone and sending a plague. And then earthquakes arrive, and you have no control over all these events. But the government can tell you, don't worry, 5 plucky misfits who've somehow been put together are going to stop all of this. Oh, thanks. Does this mean I shouldn't head to the suburbs? So now summer's here. I know there's a lot of people, that want to hit the beach, and, a lot of people want to lose weight. My real problem I've realized with losing weight is that when it comes to the war on obesity, I'm a pacifist. Like, I'm not really against people who want to get in shape. I'm not really against people who I just kind of want to be over here, slowly, delusional about my appearance. But when I go to the gym recently, like, there's other people, I guess, who work out, or who get in shape, or they lose weight, or they have a program, and I don't really seem to do that. I just seem to sweat when I go to the gym. I just seem to go into a room, and for about 50 to 70 minutes, I'm going to sweat here. At one point, I'm going to sweat when I'm doing this. And another point, I'm going to sweat when I'm doing this. Maybe later, I'll get exotic and sweat when I'm doing this. Well, thank you for your time this evening, folks. Enjoy the rest of the show.